Welcome to a very special edition of Movers and Shakers, recorded at the NEC KBB 2026. Today, we are joined by an industry veteran who has seen it all, from his early days in DIY at age 16 to serving as a purchasing director and even founding a successful online retail empire. Our guest is Paul Dwyer, the man currently steering the ship at Thomas Crapper, one of the most iconic and recognizable brands in the bathroom industry. Paul joins us to discuss how he is balancing a 160-year-old heritage with modern innovation, expanding into the North American market, and why he believes doing business the old-fashioned way is still the secret to success.
So welcome to a very special edition of Movers and Shakers here at the NEC KBB 2026. And I'm with Paul Dwyer from Thomas Crapper & Company. So Paul, we always ask the question to begin with, just very briefly, can you just look at the camera or look at me, whichever you prefer, and just explain a little bit about your career?
So I joined the industry loosely, 16-year-old Saturday lad, in DIY for a company called Smith's Do-It-All. So I was with Smith's Do-It-All for a long time, and then I joined a small DIY company in the north who were a customer of Mark II distributors. So the rep came in to see me one day. I'm having one of those bad days that everyone has from time to time. And he said, what's wrong? I said, I'm fed up with this. Like, right, come and have an interview. Yeah. And that's how I got into sort of the bathroom game, if you like, kitchen and bathroom. So with Mark II for 20 years, ended up as their purchasing director. Right, yeah. So left them, set up my own business, an online kitchen, bathroom retailer, which is still existing, big bathroom shop. Okay. So I sold it some years ago, not for enough to retire on, evidently. And then I did a small contract for Pat Riley at Bathroom Brands, and then I joined the Trojan boys who own Thomas Crapper.
Yeah, really interesting because very similar history, because I worked for a company called Payless DIY, which got acquired by Focus at that stage, and exactly the same as me. So I was in retail, and somebody came in from the road, field sales manager, and said, Simon, why are you working here when you could be on the road with a company car? And the rest is history.
Exactly that. And that's
there you go.
Exactly the same.
Okay, good. So Thomas Crapper is one of the most recognisable brands in the bathroom industry. So how do you see that legacy prior and where you're going for the future, Paul?
So the legacy we've got, the business started in 1861. Thomas himself was an innovator. He was a marketeer more than anything else. So we've got this fantastic foundation in the brand that we use and we live with every day. But we always say it's a legacy, not an anchor. We don't let it drag, we don't let it hold us back. We keep trying to move on and look at new products, new ideas, new markets. So we've got, as I say, a wonderful legacy in history, but it isn't a drag on our growth. That's the truth of it.
So you're always looking ahead to see what's new, what's different, and asking customers what they need.
100%, and that's the beauty of our business. We are a relatively small business still. We react to customers, we talk to customers, we've got direct feedback from the customers. I'm still in touch with all of our customers, so we have that direct on-the-ground feedback, as it were. And
do you do, Paul, like consumer marketing? So if there's like everyone saying, Paul, we need this, and we'll go to market and we'll ask the consumers or the B2C market, or do you just talk to trade accounts?
We tend to focus on B2B accounts, if I'm honest. We get our head above the parapet and look at what else is in the market from a B2C perspective, but we don't have focus groups or things of that sort. We're not that sophisticated, if I'm quite honest.
So if somebody said they want you like a widget that perhaps you didn't do, how quickly could you potentially bring that to market?
It depends how much time I've got available, because it's kind of me. But an example would be, we've just launched a fairly unique lever flush plate. So everyone does the push buttons and all the rest. Fits with a techie frame system, so it's a well-known, well-respected, but it actually flushes with a lever.
Right, so there more traditional,
more traditional. There aren't many on the market. That's taken around about 9 months to get to market.
I don't think I've seen that anywhere.
It's brand new. It's literally been launched. It's like last month. So that's an example, if you like.
That's a good example. Okay.
We can move quickly if we need to. Yeah.
Okay, Paul, so can you take us back in time to the origins of Thomas Crapper and what made it then very unique to how it looks today?
As I said earlier, Thomas above all was a marketeer. He was a brilliant marketeer. He was a manufacturer, don't get me wrong. They had manufacturing in Chelsea, in London, which is where the factory was. But what he was very good at, we believe, and from reading the history, was actually networking. what we were talking about earlier. So he networked really well with the higher echelons of London society, so much so that he actually got the job of fitting Sandringham Palace as it was being built, with above and below ground drainage. So that was the first of the company's royal warrants. So that was, sorry, go on.
So by royal appointment currently?
We're not by royal appointment currently, although they are still a customer.
Okay.
So
That's
as much down to level of turnover as it is everything. We supply them product, but we don't supply masses of product to them.
Under great secrecy.
Under great secrecy. We can't tell anyone. I tell everyone.
So, Paul, what do you think defines Thomas Crapper today? Is it the backbone of traditional? Is it quality? Is it marketing? Is it all three?
It's absolutely all three, and I think combined with that from our perspective is, like you, Simon, sadly I've been in the industry a long time, we're combining that with doing business the old-fashioned way. We look someone in the eye, we shake the hand, we do a deal. If we tell them they're exclusive in their area, which our dealers are, then we keep that exclusivity.
So and that's plenty of face-to-face contact where possible.
Absolutely, yeah. It's still, we are a people business still.
What's your view on that, Paul? Because it's a great point you raised there, because a lot of people I'm talking to in KBB are suggesting that the area sales manager role could be done remotely. What's your view on that?
I'm not sure it can. I think that the retailers still expect to see someone in person. I think, as I say, rightly or wrongly, I genuinely don't think we're not a sophisticated industry. We are a good person industry. I mean, that's the reality, I think. But I'm a dinosaur. You know, I'm an old man and I've been in it a long time. So, but I think certainly looking at a show like this and the stand and talking to people, they still want to have that face-to-face contact.
And working with Nick Hopkinson those years ago, that probably was installed in you from that.
Massively so. Yeah. Nick was. I mean, Nick was. It was absolutely. As soon as he walked in a room, everyone knew who he was, and he was just a character beyond, wasn't he? Yeah, he really was. Bless his soul. Yeah.
The premium bathroom market or sector always has a great value associated to an order. So where do you see that going in terms of the next sort of 15, 20 years' time?
I think that the reality is for the premium sector, more of what we're hearing, sorry, just to digress slightly, is it's about the storytelling. It's why are you premium? Why are your prices where they are? And at Crapper, I can only speak for our business, we always say where we're expensive, we can explain why we're expensive. Because our wastes are made by hand. There are 15 components that go into a waste plug and chain. There's a little man who sits in white gloves and puts them together in his shed in a back. Literally, it's a small workshop. He was one of our last employees when we took the business on 10 years ago, and he always said to me, Paul, I don't have a pension, please don't sack me. And I said, well, I'm here, you're here, and literally he works remote for us and builds our waste sets, wraps them in tissue paper, puts them in a box, and we send them to customers.
Because one would assume from looking at the overall market, looking here today, there's lots of modern, lots of sleek, and there's lots of clean lines. So, and tell me, so do we think the traditional aspect or the need of the consumers is going to be there in 20 years' time?
It's a very good question. There's a theory, isn't there, with traditional, that traditional grows when markets are hard because people look back to a comfortable time. I don't know how true it is, but that is a theory. So I guess that depends on the macroeconomics. If we're still in hard times in 20 years, then traditional will still be here. But I do think, again, genuinely, we're niche. We're obviously we're at the top end of the market in traditional. I do think there'll always be a market for that because the properties, you look around London, you look at some of those beautiful old Victorian properties, they're not really going anywhere. So I think there'll always be an underlying demand. And that's the reality of it. Good.
I believe that the UK population want to buy British. How important do you think is it to your marketing and to your customers that it is made in the UK?
I think it's important. I genuinely do. We always say around 85% manufactured UK. Okay. The challenge we have is getting more and more difficult to find UK manufacturers. That's the truth of it. With my Vitreous China, I've got one factory in the UK now I can buy from. And it's a great factory, don't get me wrong, but it's not, from a supply perspective, great to only have one factory supplying product. So we are having to, and brassware is another example. There aren't any UK brassware manufacturers who would deal with Thomas Crapper. Samuel Heath, fantastic product, but they're not going to deal with us. So we have to stretch, and we're going into mainland Europe looking at product. We have to.
So this is to offer the complete package. But I guess what you're saying there, Paul, is it mitigates the risk.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's still a short supply chain. It's still 2 to 3 days if needs be from Europe. We are mitigating there, and it also allows us to move more quickly in the market as well with product. Going back to product we talked about earlier.
And how important is the British flag on your marketing?
Yeah, we're members of Made in Britain. We're proud of it. We really are. And we think, it sits well with our brand. We are an old British brand. We're the original name in bathrooms.
We just come from a BIFIS event today here at the NEC, and it's still the number one concern is the skills gap. And what sort of things does Thomas Crapper do to support the industry in terms of educating others about the need to hire apprentices, or what do you do directly?
Sure. I mean, I'm very proud. We are a relatively small team. We've got 5-6 people in our office, in our general office, and 75% of them are under 30 years of age. We've got the 3 guys. They happen to be guys. The 3 guys are all under 30. They work so hard every day. I'm really, really proud of them. I'm proud of the job they do. I'm proud of the job we've done in training them and bringing them on board. 1 came in as an apprentice. The other 2 came from other roles. None of them were in the industry, and they're all, dare I say now, really well versed in crapper in the industry. They've got good experience, so we're quite proud of that. That's
really impressive, because if you talk about apprenticeships, I think you have to do it yourself, and you have to go through that experience to be able to advise other people. I mean, we've hired 2 apprentices in our business, and we've understood the journey via 2 training providers. So in your case, Paul, did you choose to do a self-apprenticeship, or did you go on a government standard?
No, we went through our local education college. So we went through the education college in Yorkshire, where we're based. Brilliant. So, and they were very good. The candidate we had is fantastic. He's still with us. He's more senior now in the business than he was, which is great. I do find it frustrating to deal with some of the providers, if I'm honest. We tried to get an apprentice for our last role in the office, and we just couldn't make it work with the college. We couldn't get the information we needed. There were delays, and so we ended up actually employing someone directly rather than through apprenticeship. But I'm a believer, and I'm an absolute supporter in apprenticeships. I just wish it was simpler.
And that absolutely came out in today's conversation at BIFIS. I think there was somebody there that had a frustrating experience locally with a local college. And to be fair to the local colleges, they're almost like a business, because they have to make an apprenticeship work. But I think there probably needs to be more communication or knowledge about who specialises around the UK on certain apprenticeships, who can actually deliver it in a more sort of cohesive, bigger group way, so the course actually gets finished. So I think there's a big conversation to be had around that. But that's great, Paul, to hear that you've done that yourself. So in terms of what you said there about the individual becoming more senior, that could be a great case study.
Yeah, fantastic. And I'd be happy to talk to you. I mean, in fact, so much so that our next trip to the US, he actually looks after our US customers now. So our next trip, I'm taking him over there to the exhibition. So that'd be a nice, it's a nice experience for him. It's great, and he's earned it. He's totally earned it. So it'd be really good for him. Yeah.
We'll definitely talk off air. That sounds like it could be a great possibility. Fantastic. I would imagine that Thomas Crapper brand would appeal quite strongly to interior designers and specifiers, possibly architects. But how do you make those categories aware of what you do?
The honest answer is primarily at the moment through social media, through Instagram, through Pinterest, through imagery, through installation images and things of that sort. We are not as active as we should be in that market, if I'm honest. I don't have anyone called in an architect or anything like that. We've recently done the collaboration with the guys down at the Mix with Burton May, so that's a really good space for architects, for designers. That's proving to be really, really good idea, if you like. So Lee and the guys at Burton May have put that together, so that works well for us. And of course, we work in collaboration still with our retailers. So if we get architects or whatever calling us, then we're in touch with our retailers, and we work between us to put that market together for them.
Paul, we first met in the US, and with the KBB event, and I know that you just mentioned there, and I also knew before we started the interview that you're quite keen to progress in the North American market. So what do you think it is about the Thomas Crapper brand that the US market locks into?
I think it's the authenticity, it's the British element of it, it's the royal connection, dare I say, that I'm not supposed to mention. The reality is it's really interesting because they actually love the product and they love the brand, they don't like the name. So we're actually pivoting slightly in the US, and our branding on the cisterns, for example, tanks in America, is TC & Co. instead of Crappers. because they use that word every day, whereas we don't use it so much. So it's feedback again, listening to our customers. It is. It's been really interesting, and that's a real change that we've made over the last 12 months, really. So it
sounds really smart, because I have a lot of American family that exactly what you say use that word too often.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and I with a very simple soul, you can't push water uphill. If the market's saying we don't like your brand, whatever you think of your brand, you've got to pivot it slightly. It's still TC & Co. It's still branded Thomas Crapper on the brochure and everything else. We're not shying away from it, but then the product itself that's in people's homes, as I say, is TC & Co. So it's still got the history, it's still the reality of it, but it's not got crappers across the front.
We offer sales training courses, Paul, and I'm a great believer that you can definitely learn off each other and share best practice. So if yourself or part of your team is selling to, let's say, more high end, how does that differ, that sales engagement, so let's say the mass market volume?
Sure. It goes back to what I touched on earlier. I think genuinely it is about the storytelling. The beauty of Crapper is we're not having to invent the story. We're not an invented brand. So we do go into all of that history. As I say, the story of the guy making the waste kits, in his little workshop, the history of the brand, the history of how the product comes about. So our previous owner was obsessed with authenticity, genuinely was. So his belief was if Mrs. Smith brought a tap-in her great-grandmother bought in 1901, he could match it with a pair that we still sell. So we've got that legacy, and then we've built on it, and dare I say, made it a little more commercial. It's more real now. And that's part of the training we do with the retailers, is explaining, look, we've got a toilet seat that's over £1,000. It's not because I'm driving a Maserati, it's not because we're ripping people off. It's because it's a piece of furniture made in a furniture factory. It's made from selected walnut. All of that, those are the stories we have to impart to our retailers.
Probably 35 years ago, Paul, I was selling a Miller from Sweden, and they were selling toilet seats there in John Lewis for £89, and then they did a price change to £112. And I've got no idea to this day how 35 years ago I sold toilet seats for that price. So I totally get that.
Yeah, no, it's true. And as I say, we have a few sayings, and one of them is, where we're expensive, we can always explain why. And it's not about milking the brand. That's absolutely an anathema to me. It's not what we do. So yeah, brilliant. There's
an industry debate in respect of sustainability and the eco-friendly aspects of manufacturing. Now, whether the consumer it truly influences how they purchase, we don't know the full facts there, Paul. That's open to debate. But what do you do as a company in terms of sustainability?
Sure. And I'm with you on the consumer point, to be honest. We're not seeing it driven from consumers yet. Doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. The reality is with Thomas Crapper, it's sustainable by its nature. There's no built-in obsolescence with our product. It just lasts for years and years and years. We're still supplying spares to toilet seats or cisterns that were bought 25 and 30 years ago, and that's all part of that sustainable story, if you like. The product just lasts, as to say, sadly for us, there's no built-in obsolescence.
We spoke just a while ago about the importance of apprenticeships. How important do you think it is for the KBB market to engage with schools and colleges?
I think it is important, and again it goes back to, it's almost having that voice that we can all decide that we can collaborate and do. We've just done one recently. One of my ex-retailers actually is retired, and he's now set up running plumbing apprenticeships in a local college. Brilliant. He called me up, he said, Paul, can we have some of your product? I said, of course you can, absolutely. They were doing a job.
£1,000 toilet seat.
Not £1,000 toilet seat, no. But he got a full toilet set. And he said it was amazing to see the looks on the face of the young apprentice plumbers. He said we literally blew their minds because it was a low-level set, beer pull cistern, they're not seeing that, Absolutely, and that's the great thing about it. So
how do we fit this?
It literally was that, and siphon flushing still. We're still using siphons, because it's the best solution. And Thomas himself invented the siphon flush, so we're sort of almost beholden to still use it.
Paul, I think I need some extra training from you, because when I was working for PGH Group before, we were selling a 4-piece set of pot. I think it was called Trentware in them days, for £49, mate. So I'm definitely the volume lower end of the market
And we were
compared to you.
As you say, we were at Mark II. We did one of my.
You sold it for £48 from memory.
Exactly. If you were 49, we were 48. Definitely. Yeah. And we, at Mark II, we did the Shell suite for B&Q, for example. It was a full suite, and we got it at one point. It was £249 with gold taps.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. It's a completely, and now it's a completely different end of the market. But
I remember a little story for you, Paul. You like this? And my first ever bathroom suite display was sold to a company called the Builders Shop in Kings Lynn. I never forget this, and the guy was called Wally Price that ran the business. I think he's retired now, And he rang me and said, Simon, he said, are you taking the blank? And I said, what do you mean? What's wrong? He says, you've delivered the cistern lever, everything else is to follow.
It's brilliant. Yeah. Computer says no. Yeah.
And just a final sort of structure question, Paul, that you've been practicing all last night. So what does Thomas Crapper look like for the next 5 years?
Good question. We'll still be in the classical space, traditional classical. We're stretching into industrial with a tap called the Fontley tap, which has got the knurled head, industrial style, becoming one of our best sellers. So we are stretching. And again, the analogy I use internally is we cannot be stuck in country cottages and manors forever. We have to stretch our market reach, if you like, but doing it without scaring the horses. So it's a challenge. So in 5 years' time, we'll be doing more business in America, please God, depending on our friend over there. And we will be, even bigger in the UK. We want to be the go-to brand for that high-end classical look, is the truth of it. And we're fighting to get there, but it's a long road. It's a long road.
So would that be a combination of incremental new outlets or doing more with your existing customers?
Both. We're doing some branding work at the moment with an agency, and part of the brief I've set them is how do we become more important to our existing customers, to our existing retailers, because it's cheaper to keep a customer and build them than it is to get a new one.
And I guess the top of the ask could be, how do you support with lead generation?
Without a doubt, and we do an awful lot of that, to be fair, in terms of, obviously the brand is relatively well known, so we get leads through the office, we always feed them to our local retailer. They will do the best job for the consumer, there's no two ways.
The last two questions are questions that we always ask, and the first one is, throughout your career, can you name the most amusing story, Paul, that we can all learn from?
Not in public and on camera. Is the truth.
Give it your best shot.
You knew Hoppy, so some of the tales, it would be difficult. He used to set us challenges as a sales team, and they were, looking back, crazy. So he decided one sales meeting that we were all going to be pirates. We were going to go out, we were going to pillage the market. So at the next sales meeting next month, you've all got to have beards and moustaches.
Brilliant.
So literally everyone had to grow a beard and moustache. Crazy.
Breaking barriers down, becoming one team, and
all of that. And or just because he just had a daft idea is the truth of it. One year there was a big conference, a joint conference of kitchen distributors. I won't name the brand. We were all distributing the same sink brand, and he decided that if someone from another table got up to go to the toilet during dinner, you had to rugby tackle them. So God bless him. I mean, he was an absolute character, as you said.
Absolutely, he was very charismatic. So I guess the answer there is that sales should be fun.
Yes, without a doubt. Yeah, absolutely. I was just talking to someone earlier. We spend too long at work not to be happy. You've got to enjoy what you're doing.
That's fantastic advice, that. And then the last question is, we've had dinner before. It wasn't an intimate setting, Paul, but it was a group, wasn't it?
There's time.
There's always time, absolutely. So let's say we went for that intimate setting for a good catch-up. So are you a traditional pub grub guy? Do you like Italian, Chinese, Indian? What's your tipple?
So I would be probably pub grub. I like a pub, I like a pint, as you can see. The reality is, in terms of restaurant, it would probably be a little village that I go to with my wife in Crete, and there's a little restaurant overlooking the harbour there, and it's just sunset, glass of wine, perfect.
So we've also learned...
Old romantic, sorry.
So we've also... I was about to say that you're also romantic, there you go. So I was right about the candle, wasn't I? Yeah. Right, there you go. So thank you ever so much, Paul.
Thank you so much.
So if you've enjoyed this special Movers and Shakers from the NEC, you can press like on the post you are now looking at. If you'd like to follow us on YouTube, you can hit the bell icon to receive future notifications, and we absolutely love your comments. Please leave your comments. So thank you for watching, thank you Paul for today, and we'll see you soon.